Business can be a lonely game, but it doesn't have to be. Welcome to Boutique Chat, where we explore community over competition and how to scale your company with the balance and the happiness that we all seek. We'll hear from product-based businesses of all types, retailers, e-commerce and wholesale brands, along with industry experts shaping the future of our industry. I'm your host, Ashley Alderson from the Boutique Hub, and I can't wait to chat. Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. Serena, Java, I'm so excited you guys are here. I have been looking forward to this since I knew it was coming. Thank you for being here.
No, thank you. We're so excited to be here.
Yeah.
We're excited.
It's been so funny because you guys have been in some of our Facebook ads recently. And
Yes.
I had an opportunity to see you a while back at Magic. And I know you guys had people like stopping, like, who are you? I've seen you on ads. So now everybody gets to meet you, which I can't wait to share your guys' story.
Yes. It's a lot of fun. We love seeing our people and being like, hey, how's it going? You know, just it's fun. Such a great community.
Yes.
It is. It's a small world, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, let's get into it. I would love to hear, let's get the origin story. We want to know, how did you get started in business? And then we're going to swirl into all the things.
Yeah,
Awesome.
that sounds good. I definitely feel like we have a very different story. A lot of people have this dream to open up a boutique and, you know, play with the pretty clothes and all of this. And I actually had no idea this was going to fall into my lap. It wasn't on my radar. Owning a store was never something that I wanted for myself.
Mm-hmm.
I actually went to school to be a teacher. So I taught elementary school for a couple years, did substitute teaching and stuff like that. And during that time, it was a really hard time for teachers. I mean, it's still a hard time for teachers, but I started like a Etsy side hustle to supplement my, teacher income. Anyway, kind of did that for some years. And then I eventually moved to Arizona in Kingman, where we are now. And there was this little store called the Farmhouse. And I was making signs at the time. And the lady who owned the store had local vendors. So I was like, oh, I make signs. Like, let me see if I can, be a part of the store. So applied, got in. And within a year, the owner was like, hey, so I decided that I'm going to be selling the store and I want you to buy it. So let's make that happen. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I can't own a store. I don't know the first thing about business. Like, I didn't go to school for this. And I just took the plunge and I was like, you know what? I love this world. Like, let me try it. And that was almost 7 years later. I can't imagine doing anything else. It was a total God thing. He got me here. I didn't even know this was the dream that I had. And now I can imagine doing anything else. Yeah.
So amazing.
Yeah.
So good. And Java, when did you start coming into the picture and working in the business as well?
Prior to this, I was actually in traveling sales. So the company that I was working for, they would send me all over the country. They would send me to different countries just in general. So I was doing a lot of traveling throughout Europe and just different parts of the world. And then shortly, after that, I became the sales director of that company. And, it just so happened that my father ended up getting sick and he lived in Kingman. So I kind of dropped everything, moved out to Kingman. And that's where I fell in love. But more than that, I found my partner and I found my partner in Christ. And the fact that I get to be a part of such an amazing business is above me. And, just having the opportunity to be a part of this. I mean, it's always been my dream to have a clothing store and to wear clothes. But it's more than that. It's more than just, being a part of this. It's being a part of the community and having an opportunity to be on things like this. So it's awesome.
So the rest of the story, this is what I think is so crazy about your guys' story is you guys are like from the same area originally.
Yes.
And then you both end up in Kingman and you meet in Kingman. So give me the backstory about where you guys are from.
Yes.
To Kingman.
Yes, this is a fun one.
Yeah.
So we actually both are from a city called Torrance in California. And we have always lived by each other our entire lives.
Our entire life.
Didn't even know it.
We
went to rival. Didn't know each other.
Didn't know each other.
Yeah.
No.
Went to rival high schools. We are 10 years apart, but so we didn't go there at the same time. But we do joke that when I was 16, I was working at Chuck E. Cheese, and he was 6 going to Chuck E. Cheese. And and his dad would take him to the same Chuck E. Cheese that I worked at. So we always joke that we might have known each other.
That is so funny and yet so creepy. And
it's so creepy.
Oh my God.
It is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was actually the women's kickboxing coach at a local gym, and he was doing jujitsu.
Yeah.
And so we just started talking about my shoes one day, and the rest is history. Yeah.
Oh, I love
what are
those
the chances?
Yeah.
It feels like a Hallmark movie, right? Like that's just so cool.
Pretty much,
A modern day.
Yeah, modern day Hallmark movie.
Right? Yeah. I don't know. You probably lived on like Frosty Lane or something.
That is hilarious.
Man. Well, Serena, I've got to go back to this. So
Yes.
right now in our industry, I feel like there's a lot of businesses that are changing hands.
Yes.
People are thinking about selling, and there's always people coming in and saying, I want to be a part of this industry and considering buying. And we need both buyers and sellers. So going back to your experience, this owner's approaching you saying, buy this business.
Yeah.
I would love to know, like, if you put your hindsight on, tell me about how you made that decision and walk through the process. And then what advice would you give to other people who are considering buying a business today and getting into the industry?
Yeah, definitely. So, man, in hindsight, it was a great choice. I mean, I'm so happy that I jumped all in and did it. It was very scary. I will say, I wish I was a part of the boutique hub back then, because honestly, I didn't know anything. The first girl that I hired, she went through everything with me, like from learning the POS system to even how to get a POS system, literally everything. It was very, very scary. And back then, I mean, I'm sure the boutique hub was around. I just didn't know what it was. And I wish I had that community, because I literally started from scratch. Even though the business was here, it wasn't necessarily where I wanted it to be.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I had to start from scratch and, figure out what I was doing. But don't let that deter you. If you are wanting to be a part of this world and you have the opportunity to buy a business and it feels like the right fit for you, go for it, because it can change your life. This is like a dream come true now, us basically taking this business to where we want it to be. But, over the years, we've been able to put our own stamp on it, and we've changed the business significantly from what it was. It was definitely a different store when I first bought it to where we are now. But I would say go for it. If you have the opportunity, you never know what God has in store for you. It could be amazing.
Yeah. Amen to that. And for those of you who are listening, if you don't follow these guys on social media and look at their store, it's one of the most beautiful stores. Like, I'm coming to visit you in person. Like, I'm coming.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. I can't wait to know.
Yes. We definitely pride ourselves on the aesthetic. We like to think of it like an in-store Pinterest. Like, we want it to be beautiful.
It is. I think we need to have you guys do like a merchandising workshop. Like,
yes.
The future.
Love that. Yes. Love that.
All right. Let's talk about how you transitioned the store kind of over time. So I know one thing, like just the point of sale, the technology, I believe, were you on Clover before and then you transitioned?
We were. Yeah, we were on Clover.
We just recently switched.
Okay, let's talk about that, because that's a question I think a lot of people have. They'll come into the boutique hub and they'll be like, what? Everybody's on Shopify. Why is everyone on Shopify? So what was that transition like for you? How'd you make that decision, and what'd you learn along the way?
So definitely the transition from Clover to Shopify was a daunting one. We had Clover for 7 years, and we basically held on to Clover for so long because of the merchant fees. So we kind of inherited really awesome, processing fees. And, when it kind of came down to it, the biggest thing of why we wanted to change was our inventory, and having a third-party app talk to Clover and talk to Shopify started becoming such a nightmare. And, everyone who we talked to was like, oh, like if you go to Shopify POS, it'll be so much easier to kind of have reins on everything. So we finally made the leap at the end of 2024. So a couple months ago. So we're fresh onto Shopify POS.
Yeah.
So we actually officially made the transition February 1st. So we are super fresh onto Shopify POS, but so far we are so happy with being able to sell things and not it be out of stock because our third-party POS didn't recognize the transactions from Clover onto the third-party app. So we're super happy about that.
Yeah, that's good to know. Is there any advice you'd give to people who are thinking about making that switch, like to get them started?
Yeah, definitely. So when I think about it is make sure that you have, if you are doing rewards, make sure that you have your rewards points set in stone. If you're coming from Clover, you're not allowed to pull your rewards point system from Clover to Shopify. So it will be a transition for your community to understand that, hey, like, we're working through this, but be clear with your community and just have all your ducks in a row. So understand that when your payouts are coming, understand that everything will be a little bit different on your back end, but definitely just being very clear with your community and that you're switching over and everyone will be okay.
People have been pretty nice about it, but we're just like, hey, sorry, hang on, let me check something, checking the points on the old system and trying to get them points on the new. It's been tough.
Yes.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. Well, only positive vibes going forward. Hopefully.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much.
So the other thing I think about, buying a business like that and really making it your own, just rediscovering who your customer is, who your customer is going to be, discovering the new lines you're going to carry. I mean, because you completely changed the business.
100%.
So talk to me about that transition and really making Farmhouse your own. Today.
That was definitely tough. I still have customers to this day who are expecting to see the old Farmhouse and are, slightly disappointed at first when they come in and like, oh, like it's so different now, but then pleasantly surprised once they realize what we now offer. So the way the old Farmhouse was set up was pretty cool. It was a lot of local vendors, like I talked about earlier. So a lot of the local community artisans who would bring their stuff in and basically had like little sections in the store that you could shop their items from. So it was a lot of local vendors. And over 7 years, we've transitioned that. Before it was a lot of like home decor. The previous owner sold paint, which we did for a couple years coming in. But over time, we wanted to make it something that reflected more of our personality. And so I think about like 3 years in, I was like, hey, let's try clothing and see how that goes. And that was a big culture shock for our community because we were the first clothing boutique here. So we were mainly home decor and artisans. And then, had this idea for clothing. And I was like, let me just section off a little part of the store. Well, our town needed it. We don't have much here. So it was very, very welcomed by our community and people went crazy. And over time, I'm like, hey, okay, this is working. Let's add more clothing and let's add more accessories. And we have an upstairs where we're at up here right now. And it's about
I want to say it's about like 1,800 square feet up here. So,
oh wow,
the initial clothing section was maybe about like 200 square feet, if that.
Yeah.
And the whole upstairs was actually a classroom that Serena used to teach like sign making classes and different things like that.
Yeah.
We kind of scratched the classroom and made the whole upstairs, the whole 1,800 square feet upstairs, just a straight
clothing boutique. Yeah.
That's
It's cool. We still do classes up here.
Yeah.
So we have rolling racks and stuff. And, we don't want to lose that part because that brings our community together. And so we still do classes and we pride on ourselves on still doing that. And we have like local girls who will come out and do like a knitting blanket class or, something like that. So it's
such a
cool.
way to build community.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Amazing.
And for people who don't know, I mean, Kingman's kind of famous in the turquoise world.
It is.
Yeah, it definitely is.
So do you find that you have like a lot of tourist traffic, like who are their destination to buy turquoise or like, what does that look like? How do you tie into that world?
Yeah, I feel like we do have a lot of tourists. Of course, people are always looking for Kingman Turquoise here. They were actually vendors in our store for about 5 years, which was really cool. But they have so many shows and stuff that they do. So they were like having to pull out their inventory all the time. But people definitely come out for turquoise. We are off of Route 66. So we definitely have that tourist, clientele during the summer, especially. But our locals are where it's at. Our locals are we say the word, hey, we're doing this, and they're the ones who are showing up. Our community is strong. Yeah.
So good. All right. We've got to
Yes.
get into the merchandising conversation.
Yes.
Because again, when everyone looks at your photos, they're going to be like, oh my Lord. Because it looks like a discovery fest. Like I look at the pictures and I'm like, what am I even going to look at first? Because it's beautiful. So
Yes.
I would love to know, like, are there merchandising strategies or best practices or maybe some tips and tricks you could share with listeners?
Yeah, definitely. This is like one of my favorite topics.
Yeah.
So this is like, I'm like giddy about this.
This is her world.
Yeah, I love the merchandising. And I do have this rule really quick. So when people walk into our store, if I don't hear, oh my God, this is beautiful, like at least once a week, I'm like, okay, we're switching it up. Like start packing it up and we're moving things. It's like we have so many customers who literally they walk in, they stop, and it's like, okay, so that is what we're going for every single day. That is the reaction we want when people walk in. But definitely I'm big on making like themes, and if you know anything about us, we're very like neutrals, desert. We don't go all crazy with color, pops of color here and there for the season. But I always have like right when you enter, that seasonal display table, the thing that's going to gravitate people towards, okay, what's coming up next, Easter, or, whatever the next seasonal thing is, people want to see that. So we always put that front and center. And then, kind of making color choices off of what you have. So, if it's spring, obviously you're going to pick spring colors to go with that. And then just kind of throughout making it flow nicely with color choices. I try not to mix too many crazy colors together. I try to do, either what's in season, or let's say it's a Western display. I know I'm going to keep it to black, white, brown, more neutral based colors. So I think color choices is a big thing on making a big impact. And layering. I love to see pieces that are worked up or even underneath the table. Giving that like multi-dimensional, kind of look to it is really going to help like draw that customer in, and for them to be able to see things on different layers. You don't want things to look flat and kind of boring. You want to like draw interest. So that's definitely a tip. And I think another thing I would say is incorporating other things. Like, let's say you have a Western section, bringing in cactus and stuff that you might have, in your back stockroom, or, bringing out things that are going to make that display look more lively, and just kind of focused on whatever your, that display is going to be. So yeah, I have tons of tips and tricks. You can always reach out to me if you have any questions.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit more. So what are some of your favorite props? Like you mentioned the cactus.
Yes.
I feel like there's certain props people should always kind of have access to.
Yeah.
Do you have kind of a list of your favorite things that are like essential, you think?
Oh yeah, we have a ton. So first thing I would say is we love to have like old tables. That's our base layer, and I know people, when you're first starting out, you might get, just some like regular tables and stuff like that. I've definitely over 7 years have collected tables, I would say. But it draws interest. People are always like, oh my God, is this table for sale? It's like, it's part of the experience, So we have a lot of like wooden, olden tables, just pieces like that. And then we like to use like crates to build up. We use benches underneath the table to kind of have as another base layer for, the layering. But yeah, crates, boxes, shelves, bookcases, anything you can layer on a table. We've put chairs on a table and put pieces hanging off of that. So really, if you just look around and see what you have and get creative with the pieces that you have on hand, you don't have to go out and buy all these pieces. You can use and recycle pieces. We've gone to yard sales and found really cool items that we can, use on our displays. And it really makes a difference when the customer is looking at an area to see, just different pieces being used.
I think what you said earlier was really interesting about like just drawing the customer in, because I think one of the cardinal sins of merchandising is like when I when I look at a boutique and all I see is like slat wall.
Yeah.
Oh
And
yeah.
then there's the
Oh yeah.
waterfall of here's the tops and here's
Yes.
the bottoms.
Yeah.
If I can look across the store and instantly see what's on that wall, there's no
Yes.
reason for me to go over there.
Right,
100%.
right.
I'm not going to
100%.
waste my time to walk across the room. But I feel like what you have going on is like, it's so busy, but it's like beautiful busy that I just want to go and like discover what's going to be behind this
What's
nook
open
and cranny.
there.
It needs to take me time to take it all in.
100%.
Yeah.
And we kind of joke around that like it takes people like at least like 3 rounds around the store to really fully take everything in.
Yeah.
Everything is like really, really sectioned off to a sense of like, just like you said, if Serena can look across and there's no height or anything like that, she's like, okay, we're changing that right now. I just know when Serena gets in a merchandising mood that I'm going to be like, I don't need to work out that day. Like the ladder's coming from the front to the back at least like 20 times.
Yeah.
That's probably so true. That's funny.
Yeah.
He's not wrong.
But then also, I think something else that's interesting is you're a mix of home and gift and clothing.
Yes.
And so talk about like tying those two worlds together to make them both really interesting.
Yeah, you would think that it couldn't be done in a way like you almost kind of feel like they're so opposite in a way that you're like, okay, how do those merge? But we actually find by putting them together in a way, they don't necessarily like we said, the upstairs is more boutique and the downstairs is more home decor. But we also bring up our cactuses into our clothing boutique. We also have a bookcase up here that displays shoes on. So we kind of mix them a little bit. But because of our color palette, I feel like it allows us to kind of mix things a little bit better to where it's more synonymous and people aren't like, okay, wait, this doesn't feel right, if that makes sense. Because of our, color palette, we're able to kind of mix things together, and we use the really cool tables up here as well. And, just really cool pieces to kind of bring them together to almost where you don't even realize that you're in a home decor and clothing store.
Yeah.
But people love it.
Yeah, such an opportunity because it's a lifestyle business, right? People are looking for both.
Yes.
Yes.
Exactly.
Have you thought about what it really takes to scale, to break through where you're at right now in your business and overcome some of the most common hurdles that we see in businesses, trying to just become more profitable or to build more time into their personal calendar and to get their life back while they run a business that can operate without them? Well, that's what we do inside of Retail Bootcamp here at the Boutique Hub. 2 semesters a year, once in January and once in June, 14 weeks of live group coaching. And inside, I want to share with you, there are some very common obstacles we see retailers facing that are simple fixes to help you break through to that next level. But it all has to come in order. I often hear people say, hey, Ashley, should I just run Facebook ads for more traffic? And they think that's going to solve all of their problems. But the truth is you can't run Facebook ads or add more traffic if you don't have the right products or know your customer or have a team and efficient processes built into your business. So inside of Retail Bootcamp, there's a 6-layer strategy that we go through step by step with your business, all the way from foundations and branding and your ideal customer to CEO and leadership management to building a team and profitability and being a profit-first business, understanding inventory management and turn, retail math and formulas, all the way up through sales strategy, e-commerce, merchandising, all of the content management of all of your social media channels, emails, text, and of course, Facebook ads, but we save the best for last. So if you're interested in joining us and deep diving into scaling your business, no matter what you sell and whether you're new or you're a multi-million-dollar brand just trying to break through to the next level, Retail Bootcamp has something for you. So check out our link in the show notes and enroll in Retail Bootcamp right now.
All right, I've got to shift gears a little bit. I'm sure you guys get asked this question all the time. And I love this because you guys are in our mastermind, and I love seeing couples come in that work together. And selfishly, because I work with my husband too, so I know that the good and the bad, the highs and the lows of working with your spouse. Yeah. But I love to hear from you guys about working with each other, kind of what both of your roles are, besides Java being the muscle of the group.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I'm definitely the creative.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, she's definitely the creative.
And he's definitely the doer. I forget what you guys call it. There's a name. But
so there's the visionary.
Yes, the visionary.
And
the integrator.
The integrator. He's definitely the integrator.
Right.
He makes the phone calls. He does all the talking to the people.
Yeah. And, that's something that comes very, very naturally to me, having a background in sales. I love being on the meetings. I love, running the numbers, learning how to run the numbers and so on and so forth. So she doesn't have to really worry about that. At the end of the day, she's like, okay, like, what do we have today? I'm like, okay, like meeting at this time, and this time. And, you can be there if you want, or I could take the meeting and I can let you know what's going on. So, she really thrives on the creative portion of it, and like the merchandising and the buying and making sure that everything fits our brand. And, she really thrives at that. And that's not something that, that comes naturally to me.
Yeah.
So, the visionary and then the integrator. And, I feel like understanding our roles allows us to flow seamlessly together. I know that husband and wife teams sometimes customers come in and they'll say, oh, I can never like work with my husband all day. And
we enjoy it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. We
love it.
Yeah. There's no one I would rather do this with, to be honest. So
it's a lot of fun. We do have a lot of fun. We have our bad days, but we have a lot of fun days. Yeah.
Right.
I think one of the keys that you mentioned was just knowing your role. Like you both know exactly where your lane is. You complement each other in that. You don't try to step on each other's toes. And that's been kind of our secret to success too, is I think we both have very different roles. Would you say there's like a rule of thumb or like boundaries you've had to put in place when it comes to like separating home life? Because you guys have 3 busy kids.
Yeah.
So how do you manage home life, parent life, married life, work life? How do you keep all of this?
It's tough.
It's tough. Pretty tough.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
No. It's tough. We definitely, Jav and I we always say we're both workaholics. Like we actually enjoy it. Like, if that makes sense. We don't mind working. We find fun in it. So we have to like tell ourselves sometimes like, hey, we should probably like stop working for today because we're exhausted, but like we could keep going if we wanted to really. But especially with the 3 kids at home, we have to keep in mind and, set time aside sometimes and say, hey, okay, I've worked enough today. Right. The kids want to go play games. Let's go play games with them or, whatever that might be, because sometimes bringing it home, there's no line. It kind of just all bleeds into each other,
Yeah. And, definitely with the kids, like we try to do at least like one big trip a year. Whether if that's going to Disneyland, whether if it's, going to Great Wolf Lodge and so on and so forth. We're very, very lucky on our side of things that our kids, they're homebodies. They want to be home. Like we took them to Disneyland and they're like, oh, we never want to go back. And we're like, what?
You're like, yes.
I know. I'm like, okay, but can I go back?
Yeah. But our kids are amazing. And, like I said, like they're homebodies and they just want to play a game for an hour a day. And that,
they don't ask for much.
They don't ask for much. And, it's honestly such a blessing. And, they're such good kids. So
they've got 2 awesome parents. I mean,
thank you.
Yeah. So something else I admire about the 2 of you is you guys are like hungry learners. Like I first met you during retail boot camp.
Yep.
And, I've got to tell this part of the story. So retail boot camp. And then when we went to LA, I think you guys had already joined Boutique Black, and we had a surprise for Jeff on our team who runs Boutique Black. And everyone was supposed to wear leopard pants because Jeff talks about leopard pants all the time. And Java, you even showed up in leopard shorts.
I showed up.
Epic.
He was so excited. He's like, babe, I should find me some leopard shorts. I should wear them. So I went finding him some leopard shorts, and he was serious about it.
I was like super excited. I was probably the most excited person there to wear leopard. And that kind of goes back to our roles is like, she's the creative and the visionary. And then just as long as like, she lets me like dance around for like 30 minutes a day, like everything is cool. I get it out of my system and like, but
Oh.
I'm all about it.
That's so good. It's funny because like typically when I see a husband and wife combo,
Yeah.
like the woman's very much out front, but you guys are so equally yoked. And Serena, you told me the other day that you're actually more of an introvert.
I am, yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's so cool to see you guys because you both like Java, you're just like all in. You're gonna jump out
Yeah.
front if you have to.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, so good. All right, so back to Retail Bootcamp. You guys are like you're learners, you're implementers. There's a lot of people who are going through boot camp or have gone through it. What advice would you give them? Because you guys like took and put things into action right away.
Right.
Yeah, we were literally like when we were going through boot camp, I would like pause the video. I'm like, okay, wait, did we do that yet? Like, I'm the type of person, I can't like watch it all and then try to implement it. My advice would be, and if you're anything like me, I think this works well. If you watch a little bit and implement that, because then you're going to forget it. If you're watching it and you're like, okay, this is what they're telling me to do. I look at him, I'm like, okay, did we do that? Are we on that same page? Is that how we're doing this?
Yeah.
So then I'm like, okay, we didn't do it. Let's go back and do it. So that's very much how I learn. I like to kind of implement right away because if not, sometimes it's easy to forget or to be like, wait, how did they teach us how to do that? So if you're kind of going through boot camp, I think it's best to kind of like be implementing as you're going. Mm-hmm. So it's like small chunks, you don't feel so overwhelmed after and like, whoa, they just taught me, 100 different things. Where do I start? And you feel overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, maybe to even go a little bit deeper than that, like on a specific topic, I would say, as you're going through Retail Bootcamp, really take in the financial portions of it and really understanding, your numbers. I think that's one of the biggest things, being in business for going on 7 years on June 1st. That is one of the things that we kind of struggled with. But like as we went through Retail Bootcamp and, starting to connect with some of the boutique hub, vetted service providers, we are trying to dial that in and really understanding, our profit, what we're bringing in and, why we're bringing things in. So if I was someone who's just starting out, understand your branding and which Serena is amazing at. And like, we don't do any crazy colors or anything like that, and understand why you're bringing something in and what that's going to look like if you sell through 3 of them. And then you put 3 on sale, like make sure that you're still pulling out profit anywhere that you can, but also at the same time serving your customer and understanding what they want. So if I can recommend one thing with Retail Bootcamp is understand your numbers, understand your branding, and be a community builder.
Yeah.
Oh, so good. And the numbers, I think so many people are so intimidated by them. But
it is.
It can give you some freedom if you let it.
Right.
It does.
Right.
Yeah. Once you understand it,
Right. So one thing that's been cool to watch you guys do is you've understood the numbers. I feel like you'd mastered the brand. Like you had that before boot camp because I saw the pictures of your store.
Yeah.
But you dialed down in the numbers and then you went into Boutique of Black and now you've been working on ads. And I think that's something that's really intimidating for people is the idea of like learning how to do ads themselves.
Right.
And that's what Boutique of Black is all about. So I would love to know about that process. Like, was it overwhelming? Was it manageable? And what does running ads mean for a brick and mortar business like yours?
Right. So obviously when you first start anything, it's uncomfortable, but that means that you're growing.
Yeah,
it does.
Right.
Yes.
Working with Jeff and working with all the other coaches, it's very seamless. It's totally digestible. They help you every single step of the way.
Literally, if we need something, we're like, hey, can we get on a meeting? And they're like, okay. Like, it's just, yeah.
It's super easy and it's super seamless. So they help you do your first one. And there's 2 coaching calls a week. So there's a Q&A on Tuesdays. And then there's a actually learning to do certain things on Wednesdays. So it makes it very, very easy to digest. And like she said, if you have any questions about anything, Jeff and the team are super helpful and they'll run you through anything. And if you have any problems, they help you right away. And it's been such an amazing thing for our business. Now it's like people are coming in, oh my God, I seen you on Facebook. Oh my God, I seen you on Instagram. And it's, people coming from an hour and a half away.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
The foot traffic that it's bringing
Yeah.
Is amazing. And like the traffic that it's building on our website is amazing as well. So
Yeah,
uh,
we kind of didn't realize that it would bring in more foot traffic as
right.
well.
Mhm.
You don't think about that when you're talking about running ads. You're just,
Yeah.
or at least I was solely kind of thinking like, okay, online sales, which we
Right.
get, but it's really cool to kind of see,
Yeah.
the locals that are
Right.
just being reminded about
Right.
us,
Right.
even,
Yeah.
when they're seeing our ads. So it's really cool.
I think that's one of the most frustrating things about having a brick and mortar is when people come into your store and they're like, "Oh, I didn't even know you were here." And you're like,
Yeah.
Oh, how long
"Where
have
were
you
you?"
been here for? We're like almost 7 years.
And it's like, oh, I've lived in Kingman for 30 years and you haven't heard of us. Like, but
No.
It's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, social media has changed so much. I mean, what you used
yes.
to be able to do organically, like it is solely a pay to play model right now. And I feel
It
like
is.
everyone is putting in so much work trying to make organic happen. And you've got to build what you have, already. But then ads are like, okay, now let's actually connect the dots.
Mhm.
Right.
So it's awesome to see that that's actually working. I've got a couple quick questions for you guys, lightning round. Are you ready?
Okay. There we go.
Okay. I give you 2 hours back in your day to work on income generating activity. What do you work on and why?
For me, social media,
Yeah.
because I feel like I never have enough time for that. That is honestly your best organic reach, I feel like.
Yeah.
It's free if you spend the time to do it. And social media is definitely income generating.
Yeah.
Definitely. I support that. I support that. If she had 2 extra hours throughout the day, like honestly, like social media would be definitely her thing. And like, that is definitely more eyes on the store. On my side, it's definitely understanding the back end ads and understanding, Google search consoles and keywords and different things like that to supplement her social media, because people don't really understand. And this is what we're learning in Boutique of Black, by the way,
Yeah.
to put the two together and, to, how do you say, synergistically make our business so much better. So
Yeah. So good. All right. Well, related question. What do you think is the unsexiest process in your business that gives you
Ooh.
the most impact?
That's a tough one.
Carrying a ladder. I'll just start.
Yeah. Yes. That is a good one. That is a good one.
Don't tempt me, okay? I'll make that ladder business very. It's getting us some sales.
Yeah, probably just spending the time. Honestly, probably like merchandising and stuff like that. I mean, I don't know.
I don't know.
Because honestly, if you think about it, even though merchandising is pretty,
Yeah.
the whole dismantling of everything, having to spend hours thinking of what you're going to do and what your next step is, as far as bringing people into like a story. Like you have to think of your store as like you're telling a story. So you have to like creatively spend time, because I know a lot of times I'm like in La La Land and he's like, "Oh, are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm just thinking like, what am I going to do next? What's the next dream? What's the next plan?" And so I think, kind of spending that time, and then the actually implementation of taking everything apart and redoing it and getting the energy to do stuff like that. It takes a long time, it's not just something that's quick,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the unsexiest thing I would say that on my day to day is pulling numbers. It is really understanding like what else that we need and like kind of communicating that with Serena. But definitely the numbers portion of it is the unsexiest thing on my end, and like understanding where our budgets are at. So we do work with management one, and we also do have faves as well. So just kind of trying to keep everything organized and in line is definitely kind of like the unsexiest thing, but it's made the most impact.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So good. What has been the best advice that you've gotten in business that always sticks with you?
On my end, it's definitely a quote. It's the answers that you're looking for lies in the work that you're not doing. So
that's good.
any time that like we're like, oh my God, like how are we gonna get through this? Like, or how are we gonna figure this out? It's always in the work that we're not doing. So it kind of pushes us to that next portion of where we want to take the business, and it always keeps us hungry. Like there's never a day where me and Serena don't want to make this business better, and it is I don't know, we just have fire behind it. And every time that we kind of hit a rut, I always think of that quote, and we always kind of discuss that. And it's always,
it helps. Like, even just saying like your favorite quote, I feel like it can get you out of something, you know, like you said, we'll say it and we're like, yeah, you know what? You're right. What are we doing? Let's go do something. Let's, do something about it.
Yeah. So good. What about you, Serena? Do you have another piece of advice?
Ooh, well, kind of going into quotes. And we have a huge mural that we just did on our wall. And it's, I guess, a quote. It says, this place where you are right now, God circled on a map for you. And I live my life by that. For years, I've gone by that quote, and I feel like it's a good reminder to say, okay, I'm here. We might be going through a rut, but I'm not here forever. There's a reason that this is happening, and, you know, we're going to get through it. You know, it was circled on a map for us, and, you know, we're going to get through it. We just keep going ahead. You know, we try to just be very positive. Like, you know, we all have our bad days, but it's important in this business to just kind of, you know, like, realize what you're going through and how are we going to get out of it, you know, instead of like dwelling in it.
Yeah. The world needs more of that.
Yeah.
I mean, if we could just pour that all over social media, be like, oh, this news feed, what's happening with people?
Yeah.
So that's one of the things I really just admire so much about the two of you is whenever I'm in your space, even here, I can just feel the positive energy radiating off of you.
Oh, thank you.
Like, live that on a daily basis. So thank you for that, for sure.
Yes.
Of course.
Well, I have one last question for you, and it's, you guys listen to the podcast, so you know it's coming, but it's always the big question, right? Like, we're not put on this earth to sell clothes or widgets or whatever, but just for so much more. So when you think about your future down the road, 30 years down the road, your kids are grown, they've got grandkids, you're all sitting on the porch of the farmhouse. And you're thinking about the life that you lived and the impact that you made. What's the thing that you really want them to remember most about who you are and how you lived?
I want all of our community, our kids, you know, if our parents are still around at that time, our parents to know that we showed up, you know, whether if that was, you know, for one of the boys' baseball games, or, you know, if our daughter gets up and, you know, wants to do a dance recital when she gets older, like, I want them to know that we showed up, even though we had this busy life, that we provided for them, and that they know that we were there for them. On top of that, like, we just want people to know that we had the best interest, and that, you know, as we're a God-fearing couple, like, to know that we stuck by what we said we were going to do, and we, you know, we didn't waver from that.
100%. Yeah. Kind of going on what he said, just like, really, like, even nowadays, like, having people know, like, we're going to do what we say we're going to do. And, you know, sticking behind that, like, you know, our community right now, they know that they can come to us for anything. You know, they know that, you know, we'll pray with them, we'll cry with them. You know, it's more than selling clothes. Like you said, it's literally a community. You know, people have come in here and, you know, just shared so much with us. And we value the fact that they think that they can come to us and they know that we're going to pray with them, or, you know, laugh with them, or whatever the occasion is. So, you know, just, being there for people.
Salt of the earth and have an integrity all in one. That's what I appreciate. You guys, this has been awesome. It feels like it's flown by. I'm so excited for everyone to listen to this episode. And hopefully you get the chance to meet you in person at a market, which I'm sure many of them will have the opportunity.
Yes.
That's
awesome.
So thank you for the light that you are. You guys, as you're listening, I will link up Serena and Java's links in the show notes. Please give them a follow on social media. You're going to want to for all the merchandising goodies. And you guys were so gracious. I saw you left a little discount code if anyone wants to shop on your website. So we'll share that in the show notes today as well.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you guys for being on the show.
We appreciate you. Yay. Thank you.
Thanks for listening, guys. I hope you took away all kinds of nuggets and new ideas from this week's episode. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a rating and review. We love to hear your feedback and give you a chance to be featured on the show each and every week. For more information on our spirit of community over competition, and to access guest downloads and bonuses and all the resources we talked about on the show, head on over to theboutiquehub.com and join the community. We'll see you next week.